Hello everyone! Today we're going to start our fall forest collage. First thing we're going to do is pick out a sky color and a ground color. So I'm picking a light blue sky and this bright green grass. And we're going to figure out how big our grass piece is going to be. So we're going to draw a horizontal line, so a line that goes side to side. Decide if your grass is going to be straight, if it's going to have a hill, or if it's maybe going to have a different type of shape to it. So you need to draw from one end of the paper all the way to the other end lengthwise, the long way. Then take your scissors, line it up, and make your cut. When you're done, you're going to end up with two big pieces of green. So let's keep the second piece. We can use that for good scraps. And your first piece, before we glue it on, we're going to add a texture to our grass. So I'm looking through our texture plates, finding a texture that I'm interested in. And once I've picked one out, the texture goes underneath the grass. And then we're going to be using some peeled crayons. That way we can use them sideways. So we are pinching and rubbing. If the color doesn't show up, try a different color. And hold the paper steady as you are rubbing the crayon over the texture. So it's a two-hand job. You're going to have to also slide that grass paper around a little bit so that way you can cover the whole thing with texture. Next step, with the white glue bottle, we're going to be lining up the bottom of the grass with the bottom of the background paper. Open up your glue bottle. Remember, we twist to open. You should be able to hear air coming out. And using just a thin line, draw it close to the edge all the way around the shape. Wipe off any excess glue and close the tip. And now carefully, you're going to flip it and line it up on the bottom. You don't want any blue showing underneath the grass. So you also want to check corners, check the bottom. If it's not in the right spot, make your changes before the glue dries. And then you can gently press, rub, hold, count to 10, whatever you need to do to get your grass to stay glued onto your background. Once that's feeling pretty good, we're going to add a texture to the sky. With a blue crayon and a different texture than I used in my grass, I move around the texture plate, rubbing on a texture into the sky. Last step, make sure your name is on the back of your paper. Our next task for this project is going to be working on creating tree tops. So we're using fall colors. So we have lots of warm colors here, red, oranges, yellows. I also grabbed some brown. And you're going to think about which colors you want to use. Now we're going to try to work a little smarter by cutting out two shapes at the same time. So using my pencil, I'm going to make a big round shape. You can use ovals, circles, even kind of bumpy trees if you want. I'm cutting off the excess first, lining up two pieces of paper, and pinching them together as I rotate and cut around. So now I have two treetops, and I only had to draw and cut one of them. So see if you can continue this process of thinking about different sizes, different colors. How many treetops can you fit in? This is a big background paper, so we're going to need to create lots of big treetops. So as you're working, try to make sure that you have a nice variety. When your treetops are cut, you might want to kind of spread them out, and let's do a little bit of planning and think about which trees are going to be glued towards the back of our forest and which trees are going to be glued towards the front. So you can see Mrs. Belzer's making piles here. I'm going to have a pile at the top and a pile at the bottom. Opening our glue bottle again, you're gonna start to glue the background trees first. You can see I'm switching my order a little bit. So same steps as before. If you have a side that you can see a pencil line, that is the side the glue goes on. Now notice how these trees look like they're all in the sky. That's our back row. The front row is going to overlap the back row. So it will look like a forest because all the treetops are touching. I'm just flipping over my paper and rubbing with flat hands really to make sure that those are stuck nice and well. We're going to let those treetops dry. And when we come back, we're taking a brown oil pastel. Draw your tree trunks first. Now remember, older trees are going to have a thicker tree trunk and younger trees are going to have a thinner one. So maybe think about how old the trees are in your forest. I like to start with the letter Y shape and then add some V-shaped lines or diagonal lines that are going to reach up towards the top. Repeat this step with each tree and feel free to make the trees and their branches a little different on each one. Oil pastel will smear if you rub your hand in it, so try to be careful as you're working around your trees. For the last step, you want to think about the trunks of those back row of trees. Are you going to be able to see them? Maybe think about kind of drawing an imaginary line to show where they're going to pop back out, just to make our forest look a little more real and to make a sense of space in that background. So you can see I'm just kind of imagining where would that tree trunk pop out for my fall forest. I have one more, and this one's kind of tricky. Trying to decide, would I be able to see the tree trunk or not? So I made the decision. I'm going to say, yep, I can see the tree trunk for that yellow topped tree. I just add that in. Now your fall forest is complete. Think about if there's anything else you want to add. Do you want to put details in the sky? Do you want to make animals for your forest? Or do you want to make some leaves on the ground? Feel free to cut and glue or draw details into your forest scene. I'm so excited to see what you created with these awesome ideas. Thanks, guys.